is to go for amalgamation absorption. Okay, we have discussed all these things. Now we'll be talking about the types of amalgamation and how to deal with the accounting part, how to deal with this accounting part. That is what we are going to discuss in this lecture. So this lecture is going to be very important so far as your practicals are concerned, because some of the points that we will discuss today in this lecture will be used when we do the calculations in the examples. Okay. Now, before I start anything in terms of amalgamation, let me just ask you a few questions, and based on that, we can go ahead. Okay. The chapter that we have done so far, liquidators account. In that, in the book, there is no categorization of sums. But by categorizing, I make sure that you understand each category properly and you know how to go about with the sums. So, how many category sums we did in the chapter of liquidation? How many types of sums we have done? Three. Yes, three. No. Were you there in the classes, online classes so far? How many types of sums you have done? We have done three types of sums, right? Now, by knowing that, you can identify when you attempt which category sum it is and how to solve that sum. So it is very important that when we are starting a new unit, which has got a huge weightage in terms of sums, we have got 50% weightage of this chapter. Okay. So now it is very important that we learn what kind of sums will come. Okay. So basically there will be two types of sums. Now in the book that you have, in that book they've given amalgamation a separate chapter and absorption a separate chapter. But we will be doing sums of both of them simultaneously, because there are only two types of sums, whether it is amalgamation or absorption. It can be anything, but there are just two categories of sums. The first category sum is, so far as amalgamation and its meaning is concerned, so that you know we have discussed that in the last lecture. So you know that, suppose we two are two companies. I am A Limited and you are my students. All the students online and offline are B Limited. Now suppose if I take over B Limited under me, what I have done, amalgamation or absorption? If I am A Limited, I am taking over B Limited. What I have done, amalgamation or absorption? Absorption. I have absorbed B Limited into me. Yes. Now the first category sum is, I was already A Limited. I was already A Limited. I was having already my balance sheet, in that I had my own liabilities and assets. I have taken up your business into me. So my assets, liabilities will increase. So A Limited before absorption was a different company, and A Limited after absorption is a different company. Yes or no? Although the name remains A Limited, but my assets will increase, liabilities will increase. So the first category sum is after you take over the business, or suppose we amalgamate A Limited and B Limited, mix and become AB Limited. So after absorption or amalgamation, the company which is going to continue, in the first case absorption only, A is going to continue, B is going to get over, done, no longer in existence, B Limited. A Limited will carry on. Similarly, after amalgamation, A and B both will not work, only AB Limited will work. Yes. So the first category sum is to prepare the new balance sheet after amalgamation or absorption, whatever the case may be. Preparing the new balance sheet. Little bit getting it 5%. First category sum is just preparing new balance sheet. Because then only I'll come to know that I've absorbed B Limited. What is my current status as A Limited? Or if I am AB Limited, so we both should know as AB Limited where do we stand? What are our assets? What are our liabilities? Are you getting it, all of you? So this is the first category sum that we'll be doing first. Second category sum is, in the first category sum we talked about which company? The company which is going to stay, which is going to exist after amalgamation and absorption. We talked about only that company. Now, in the second category sum, we'll be talking about the company which is going to lose its existence. If AB Limited, example, if it was absorption, which company loses its existence? Which company loses its existence in absorption? In our example of AB Limited, B will lose its existence, only A will continue. So to close the books of accounts, you need to pass some journal entries, prepare some accounts. If you remember conversion of business into company, you studied this chapter. Realization, transferring assets, liabilities, purchase price, etc., etc. If you remember, the same chapter is repeated here. That if A Limited is purchasing B Limited, B Limited books should be closed. So closing the books of B Limited is the second category sum. Suppose it was amalgamation, then which company loses its existence? In our example of AB Limited, if we amalgamate, which company loses its existence? Both A and B. Both A and B loses their existence because new company is AB Limited. So both A and B books are to be closed. That is called closing of books, second category sum. Getting it, all of you, what we are going to do in this chapter? As I mentioned in the previous lecture, this is some high level accounts, but if you understand the logic behind accounting, it becomes the easiest topic. Once you understand a no liquidators account, when we started on the first day, you must be thinking, oh, what this account is all about, or what the chapter will be all about. But after 10 lectures, you felt confident yourself because you understood the logic behind preparing receipts and payments account of liquidator. Similarly, if you understand the logic of amalgamation, absorption, and how the accounting works, the logic behind accounting, this is one of the easiest chapter. Okay. Now, coming to the first category sum, which is first category sum is preparing balance sheet of whom?
New form.
Transferor company or transferee company. We discussed the other day what is a transferee company. What is who is a transferee and what is a transferor company? You forgot. Don't worry. After today's lecture, I'll be giving you the PPT of this topic. Transferor company is the vendor company which loses its existence. Just remember our example. If absorption has taken place, B Limited is a transferor company, one who is transferring its business to A Limited. Okay. Now, when it comes to first method, that is, you need to prepare the balance sheet. Okay. Now you have to prepare balance sheet using two accounting methods. The first accounting method is if the amalgamation is assumed to be in the nature of merger. And the second is amalgamation in the nature of purchase. Okay. Amalgamation in the nature of merger and amalgamation in the nature of purchase. Now, before we go further understanding how to decide whether it is a merger or whether it's a purchase, the accounting for both of them will be different. So you will, if in the example they ask you, they give you a question wherein they give you balance sheet of A and B limited, A limited, B limited. They have given you the balance sheet individual. Both the companies are still in existence. A limited takes over B limited. They will tell you in the end, prepare balance sheet assuming amalgamation, or you can say absorption is in the nature of merger, and second point, amalgamation is in nature of purchase. They will give you some like this. So for 14 marks, you have to prepare two balance sheet. The first one is the first method, that amalgamation is in the nature of merger, and the second is amalgamation in the nature of purchase. I'll be explaining very slowly by taking pauses so that you understand each and everything that I'm going to speak. And as you know, I speak only in English so that you understand the concepts in English and you can apply the concepts in English. Okay. So now the question arises, what is the difference between amalgamation in the nature of merger and amalgamation in the nature of purchase? Now, before I explain you this, let me just take you to the subject of taxation that you have started learning this year. Have you studied residential status? Residential status. There are two basic conditions and two additional conditions. If I follow only one basic condition, will I become a resident or a non-resident? If I follow any one of the two basic conditions, I become a resident or I am a non-resident. Resident, if you have studied the chapter, by the looks of your faces, at least half looking to your eyes, half of you understand the concept and half of you still confused. Many of the online students know it very good. So for basic conditions, you need to follow any one of the two conditions and you become the resident. But for additional conditions, that is, if the resident is ordinarily resident or not ordinarily resident, there are two additional conditions. Can I satisfy any one of the additional condition and I become ordinarily resident? No. For becoming ordinarily resident, I need to follow or fulfill both the additional conditions. Yes. Okay. I've taken you far from corporate accounts. We are into taxation right now. But there is some connection between those additional conditions and the things that we are going to discuss. Okay. Now for amalgamation, there are 5 conditions that you need to follow. Now, don't worry too much about this. This is more of theory point of view. In sums, you don't have to check whether it's a merger or purchase. They will tell you in the question whether you have to prepare balance sheet as per merger or as per purchase. They will be very clear. They will not tell you, you decide as per yourself it's a merger or purchase. They will tell you clearly. So you don't have to, follow all these conditions just like you did in residential status. But just like residential status, additional conditions. If you follow all the 5 conditions that you see right now on screen, you become amalgamation in the nature of merger. But if you break any one or more conditions, your amalgamation will become in the nature of purchase. Getting it? 1%. If you follow all the conditions, all 5 conditions, your amalgamation is in the nature of merger. If you break one or more condition, your amalgamation is in the nature of purchase. Just have a look at this screen right now. If you follow all 5, you can see the top. If you follow all the conditions 1 to 5, it's merger. If you break any one of the condition, your amalgamation is in the nature of purchase. Now, what basically this Five conditions are important for theory question. First condition is all assets and liabilities of transferor company become after amalgamation the assets and liabilities of transferee company. Very simple to understand. Just keep in mind the example A Limited, B Limited. I am which company and you B. Okay. So when and keep in mind the absorption point. If I am taking all the assets and liabilities of B Limited and making the assets and liabilities of A Limited, it is a merger. First point. I think any one student has kept the mic on. Kindly switch it off. Kindly mute yourself. Okay. First condition, very simple to understand. Assets and liabilities of B Limited will become the assets and liabilities of A Limited after amalgamation. Second condition. Shareholders not less than 90% of face value of equity shares of transferor company become the equity share of transferee company by the virtue of amalgamation. Now, one thing you must be very clear that when can you sell your business to me? When your shareholders agree. When they will agree? When against their existing shares of B Limited, I give them the new shares of A Limited. Then only they will agree. Otherwise, why they will say yes? They are already a shareholder of a company. While they will allow to go away their share when they know that they will get new shares of A Limited. That's why they allow you. So as per the second condition, 90% face value shares should be given to the existing shareholders, minimum 90%. Whatever your existing share capital is, 90% of the face value should be given by transferee company to the shareholders of transferor company. Second condition. Are you getting it? Little bit. Next, third condition. See, the language is such. It's a corporate account, as I mentioned to you. It will be little tricky, but the point is very simple. Don't get confused. The language will be difficult to understand and remember, but if you just make it simple, it is easy to remember. The third point says consideration for amalgamation receivable by those equity shareholders of the transferor company who agree to become equity shareholders of the transferee company is discharged by the transferee company wholly by issue of shares in the transferee company, except that cash may be paid in respect of any fractional shares. So, what does this third point mean? Whatever shareholders your company is having, whoever is the shareholder of B Limited, they should get A Limited shares or cash or something else against their shareholding. That is what the third point is. Okay. They should be given the new shares or cash if needed or if required. They should be given against their shareholding. Right. Third point. Fourth point says the business of transfer company is intended to be carried on after amalgamation by transferring company. Means if I purchase B Limited, the business of B Limited should continue in the name of A Limited. It should not be stopped. If it is amalgamation, the business should continue. Sometimes what happens? Some companies purchase the other company to remove the competition. To remove the competition. Once they buy the company, they close it down. They don't want competition. So they buy other business to remove the competition. But if they do that, it is not merger, it is purchase. So as per merger conditions, you must make sure that when you amalgamate with a company, when you absorb a company, you should make sure that the company which was there earlier should continue its business activities. That is the fourth condition. And the fifth condition is no adjustment is intended to be made to the book values of the assets of the transferor company when they are incorporated in the financial statements of transferee company, except to ensure uniformity of accounting policies. Now, what does this fifth point say? It says, I'm A Limited. I'm buying this B Limited. Now, B Limited has its own assets. Suppose these benches are your assets. You say in your books of accounts that these benches are of 2000 rupees each. 2000 rupees each. I buy B Limited. I prepare my new balance sheet. I come to know that same benches are available for 1800 rupees. But as per merger, I have to write the value of benches as 2000 only in the new balance sheet. I cannot write 1800. If I write 1800, then it's a purchase. So try to get the point of how to prepare a new balance sheet here itself. They will give you A Limited and B Limited balance sheet, assets and liabilities. So when you are preparing new balance sheet, you have to just add both the amounts. A's assets plus B's asset total will be the new balance sheet A's assets value. In the example, in the adjustment, they will give you that new value of bench is 1800. That point you will ignore when you are preparing balance sheet as per merger, but that point you will consider when you prepare balance sheet as per purchase method. Are you getting a little bit of it? Once we do the sum, then only everything will be clear to you. Right now, just try to understand what amalgamation is in the nature of merger and in the nature of purchase. These five conditions very important for theory point of view. Now let's talk about the accounting. From here on, your actual accounting part starts. Your actual accounting part starts. So try to understand each and every point in detail. In the example, whether they ask you to go prepare balance sheet as per merger or purchase, some accounting method is used. So if they say the amalgamation is in the nature of merger, the method of accounting used is pooling of interest method. Pooling of interest method, whereas here they use purchase method. Now, what do you mean by pooling? Pool. Have you heard this word pool? We say swimming pool, right? What is there in swimming pool? Water or something else? Why are you so scared? Just be relaxed. It's very easy to understand. Don't worry so much, right? We are not framing any government policies. We don't have to run our nation. We don't have to fight COVID right now. Just try to understand something new that you are studying for the first time. Just don't put so much pressure on your brain that we don't know what is happening in the class right now. Okay, just be relaxed. Suppose there is a pool, swimming pool. I already had water of A Limited. I purchased B Limited and add that water in the swimming pool because it's a Limited swimming pool. I added the water which I purchased, amalgamated B Limited into my pool of A Limited. Now A Limited pool is completely full with water. If I want to separate now A is water, A Limited is water, and B Limited is water, can I do that? Is it possible? No, it's not possible. So that is why in merger we use this method. So what we do basically, we are just pooling it together. In the question, they've given you A Limited balance sheet and B Limited balance sheet. You are preparing new company A Limited, which is going to continue. B is going to lose its existence. So what you have to simply do, take all the assets and all the liabilities, pool them together. That's it. That's simple way of doing accounts. Simple way of preparing balance sheet. What you will do? They say fixed assets 4 lakh A Limited, 2 lakh B Limited. You are preparing balance sheet of A Limited. Fixed asset, how much you will write? In A Limited column, fixed assets were 4 lakh. In B Limited column, fixed assets were 2 lakh. How much you will write in the new balance sheet? 6 lakh. Very simple. When they say debtors 60,000, 40,000, how much you will write in the new balance sheet? 1 lakh. When they say creditors 30,000, 10,000, how much you will write in the new balance sheet? Simple. This is how you will complete your entire balance sheet. Take all the liabilities, do the total and write. Take all the assets, do the total and write. Very simple. No confusions at all. So merger method is going to be very simple. You are just going to, as the name of the method says, you don't have to, get confused at any point in merger method. The method itself says pooling of interest. You are just pooling it together, putting it together. That's it. Okay. For purchase, you have to use purchase method. There are some changes to it. Right. We'll come to that point. So in pooling interest method, just now I explained to you what you have to do is you have to take the assets, liabilities, and reserves of transferor company. I hope this word is clear to you. The one who is selling the business is a transferor company. So when B Limited transfers assets, liabilities, and reserves at the existing amounts, I am not going to make any changes to the amounts. Whatever is the value of bench that you have written in your books, I have to write the same in my books. This is merger method, pooling of interest. So straight away take the assets, liabilities, and reserves of transferor company and record it at the price which was there in the new balance sheet of the new company. Clear with the first point? Yes, all of you, those who are online, getting my point? Now, what about P&L balance? We talked about reserves. Balance of P&L also taken together and added to the, suppose there is a P&L balance of say 40,000 of B Limited. I already have P&L balance of 70,000. So what I have to do is I have to aggregate the balance of the transferring company, or I can transfer to, if I don't have P&L, I can transfer to general reserve. If I have P&L, I will add both of them. So 40,000 plus 70,000 in my balance sheet P&L will appear at 1,10,000. Simple. So pooling is working not only just assets and liabilities, but also working for reserves. Till this point clear? Amalgamation in the nature of merger, and we are discussing pooling of interest method. Moving on. One small working will be needed to be done. Why? Suppose there were 1 lakh rupees of shares, 1 lakh rupees of shares of B Limited. I am purchasing the business of B Limited. So I give 1,20,000 of shares to the existing shareholders of B Limited. I give 1,20,000 shares of A Limited so that I can purchase that business. So this formula says share capital issued. How much I gave to the existing shareholders of B Limited minus the share capital which was there with them. So I gave them 1,20,000. What was their existing share capital? 1 lakh. I gave shares of 1,20,000. Their existing shares for 1 lakh. So how much more I gave them? 20,000. This 20,000 is a profit for me or loss for me? Loss. Whenever you pay more, it's a loss. So this will be adjusted in the reserves of transferee company. So what I'll do is total of reserves minus the loss on the share capital which I've given. And then I'll write in the balance sheet. Getting it, all of you? So the difference between the amount recorded as share capital plus any additional form of consideration of cash or any other form and the share capital of the transferor company is adjusted in the reserves in the financial statement of transferee company. Done? Merger method, no confusions so far as the discussion is concerned. When we will do the sums, actually, more things will be clear to you. But right now, I hope all of you are clear with it. Those who are online, are you able to get it? Okay, moving on. Now we are talking about purchase method. Now the things are going to change a little here. Obviously, there is a difference. That's why we have two different methods. First was pooling of interest method. The second accounting method, if it is a purchase, then it's a purchase method. Now here, in merger, what you did was you took assets and liabilities as it is in the new balance sheet. In purchase method, if they don't give you any information, you take it as the existing values of assets liabilities. But if they give you an adjustment, the market value of assets liabilities, then you have to take in the new balance sheet with the new values. Got it? So if not given, so you take existing, or if it is given in the sum, you take the new values of assets and liabilities to be transferred to the new balance sheet. You're not just pooling, you're looking at the changes also. This is purchase method, this is not pooling of interest method. Getting it, all of you? Now, what about P&L? In merger, you added the P&L, but in purchase, P&L of transferor company is of no use to transferee company. You need to ignore it. Don't take it to the new balance sheet. In our example, if A Limited is taking over B Limited, the P&L account balance of B Limited will not be written in the A Limited's balance sheet. P&L account balance of transferor company, whether it is debit or credit, loses its identity. Don't take that in the new balance sheet under purchase method. Getting it? As I said, when we will do the sums, again I'll highlight these points. But if you remember these points while doing the sums, you can understand better. Okay. What about reserves? What about reserves? Now, when it comes to reserves, there are basically two types of reserves. If you have studied accounts, you already know there are some uh, generic, or you can say not specific reserves like general reserve. Some other reserves are there. You just prepare for the safety. Whereas there are certain statutory reserve which are compulsory, which are important, which has some name, which has some purpose. So you can have statutory reserves or reserves other than statutory reserves, like general reserve. So just like P&L, if the reserve is without any name, without any purpose, just ignore it. Don't take in the new balance sheet. Just like P&L. P&L is also general reserve. It's not specific profit. It's just the profit that you kept aside. So not to be included in the financial statements of transferee company if the reserves are other than statutory reserves. But if it is statutory reserve, then it is to be included in the financial statements of the transferee company. So if your balance sheet in the question has statutory reserve, I prepare new balance sheet after acquiring you, I will write that reserve in my balance sheet also. If it is a statutory reserve. In case of merger, no matter which kind of reserve is, you take both, you club them together. Simple. In merger, it's very simple. But here you need to identify which reserves are statutory reserve, which are other than statutory reserve. If it is a statutory reserve, take it in the balance sheet. If it is other than statutory reserve, just ignore it. Don't take in your balance. Clear purchase method so far? Now, you're purchasing another business. Purchase method means you're purchasing. A limited is purchasing B limited. So just like any other purchase, if you want to buy something, what you have to give? You have to give some consideration. Some price you need to pay to buy something. So when you're buying, you need to pay something which is called consideration. Okay. So the aggregate of shares and other securities issued and payment made in the form of cash or other asset by the transferee company to the shareholders of the transferor company. So basically in merger, you whatever you gave to the shareholders against their existing shares, here that will be considered as consideration. In merger, you compared new shares that you have given to the existing shareholders with what the existing shares that they were having. You compare both the shares, new shares with the old shares. You compare these two things. In purchase, you will compare this with what you are getting, because when you purchase, you always look for now cost benefit, that I've paid this much, how much I'll get. So you compare in purchase method, not the two shares. You will compare how much you have given consideration with what assets you are getting. I hope you know what is net assets. Assets minus liabilities, net assets. So if you have paid more, the consideration is more, and the assets that you have received is less. The more amount is lost for you. But why you have agreed to pay them more? Because there is goodwill of that business. If you pay more, you get less assets, means there is a goodwill of that business. For that reason, you are paying more. If you are paying less, consideration is less, and the assets that you are getting are more, it's a profit situation for you. It's a capital profit for you, and that profit will be transferred to capital reserve. That profit will be transferred to capital reserve. Clear all of you so far? Rest is just theory, disclosures. For sums, you need to remember all these slides that we have discussed today. So I'll be sending you the PDF of this file. Okay. And you need to refer to it properly before we start the sums. You should know this. Okay. And mark my words, if you do two sums properly, I'm telling you the number, illustration 9 and illustration 10, which is there in the book. If you just do two sums, you can never get 80 KT in this subject. It is so easy to understand and do the sums of merger and purchase. Just two sums. Just two sums. Okay. So those who are connected online, please stay connected. I'll be taking your attendance.